For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Happy Friday to you. That is, if you're listening to this on Friday. I'm not sure when you're tuning in, but I'm glad you are nonetheless. There is a lot to talk about today. I've got 30 minutes of rants for you. You know, I do love having the celebrity guests on the show. I love, you know, we've had just amateur music artists. You know, we've had a lot of great people on the show. We've covered different events. We've gone and done travel, tourism programming. But I really enjoy just kind of giving you a piece of my mind, not like telling you off, right? Go to hell. But just blurting out my opinions and my thoughts, and then seeing what you have. Because I like to feel that I'm not irrational, and that I'm not, sometimes I have an opinion just to kind of poke at people and see. I think you might call it devil's advocate, but I kind of just like to I ask questions and make people think about things, maybe in a different way. So you might have your opinion, but I will challenge you to kind of maybe think about it in a different way. Not because that's my opinion, but just to kind of get you thinking, right? So that's kind of one of my specialties. I don't like to go all Barbara Walters on your ass. But anyway, there's lots to talk about today. We're going to talk about this whole mob mentality because, you know, thanks to different documentaries, you can't listen to R. Kelly music anymore. You can't like or listen to Michael Jackson music anymore. I've got some thoughts on that. And also when it comes to work, the mentality that you have when it comes to your coworkers and your colleagues. You hear that, you know, like we're family here at this place. We're family. Are you really though? Are you really family? I've got some stories because I was out and about. I was socializing, and it's got me thinking. I did. I went out for drinks on a Saturday night and got connected with a few people who I haven't seen in a while. That's, I guess, one of the beauties of Facebook and social media is that you can reconnect. And so we just started talking about a bunch of things, and then on the way home, it made me think, like, that would be some really cool stuff to talk about on the radio and the podcast. So we've got some of those ideas here. So how you view your coworkers and your colleagues and people at work, and friendships as well. Listing yourself online wanting friends. Some people use even just a dating site for that. Well, so there's some different options that we also discussed, and I want to get your thoughts on that. And gym etiquette. Now, you know this is not me because I got a treadmill in my house, and I walk my dogs all the time. That is the extent of my exercise. And walking throughout the house and walking, you know, here and there into the store. That's my workout, everybody. But it was interesting to kind of hear some people's thoughts on gym etiquette and politics of a gym. So that's what's coming up in the next 30 minutes, or I guess 27 minutes or so. The Scribble and all of this fun conversation starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. The mob mentality. It's a little bit ridiculous, I have to say. Now, I wrote a newspaper column about this a week or two ago, because we started to see all these stories about Michael Jackson and how are they keeping him in the music or the Rock and Roll Music Hall of Fame? Is he being being removed from the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum? And we even had people on our radio show. Not that we play Michael Jackson music very often, really, if at all, but people threatening us to not play his music anymore, and I kind of sit there going, you're trying to make me feel bad that I like the music. Just because I like the music does not mean that I like the person. It's not like you're supporting the art, right? You're supporting the product that they're making. And so right now, not that Michael Jackson is releasing any new music, though I do hear that he has a lot of unreleased music because he's been dead for how many years. But it's not like I'm going out and buying Michael Jackson music now because of the Leaving Neverland documentary, right? It's not that I'm all of a sudden supporting him. And like we heard that about R. Kelly when the Showtime documentary started, that people, his music downloads and sales were through the roof. Okay, that's one thing, because you're now starting to download his music. But if I already have the Michael Jackson, CD or record or something, so am I supposed to go and throw it out now and burn it? Am I, I'm just not allowed to own it anymore, even though I paid for it rightly in the store? So sure, what these guys are accused of is terrible, and I'm not even defending them or saying that these people that are making accusations are liars. That's not even the argument. Don't even go there. Don't even start tweeting me, because you're ridiculous if you do that. What I'm saying is, I bought something 15, 20 years ago, and just because I still have it in my CD collection, yeah, I've got a CD collection, don't judge. All of a sudden I'm supposed to go and break the CD in half and throw it out and never listen to it again. I don't get that. You don't have to respect the person to enjoy the music. And I'm even trying to think of somebody who I just can't stand. But I kind of say, well, the music is good, though. The music is the music. Right? Or you might not like a certain actor, but they're a good actor. And, so you watch the movie just because it got good reviews or it won an Oscar or whatever it is. But that's kind of where, suddenly I'm attacked because I was listening to Michael Jackson music all of a sudden. And you have to realize what these are, especially Michael, but these artists, they've got a place in music history. You can't just go and pretend this person never existed. Despite what their past is, it's not just so easy to go and wipe it out. And so when it comes to Madame Tussauds and the Music or Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whichever, they're saying, no, we're not removing it because it's not about what he's done. It's about his place in music history. And not that R. Kelly has statues or anything anywhere, but again, the same thing. You're attacked just because you're listening, it makes it sound like you're supporting it. Yeah, okay, if you see me in the store in the Michael Jackson section holding up the CD or buying the t-shirt or something, fine, and maybe attack me. But because you hear me listening to the music or something, get over it, really. I don't know. I don't think that we just have this clear cut, okay, this person is dead to us and he should be dead to everybody, and he's a pervert and he's a pig and he's whatever. I still like the song I Believe I Could Fly. I don't listen to it. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but if it comes on the radio or if I'm on YouTube at home and it's one of those related matches or something, it shows you other suggestions on the side, I might click it and listen to it, whatever. Am I suddenly going to be hacked and am I going to be people are going to out me on social media that I was listening to R. Kelly? Really? You need better things to do. You need better things to do in life. That's what I got to say. But tell me your thoughts on this. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Again, it's one thing to now go and buy a ticket to an R. Kelly concert. Okay, I get that. But you just have the music. Why can't you listen to it anymore? Tell me your thoughts. live@jbonair.com. And we're going to talk about workplaces and colleagues, coworkers, fellow employees, whatever you want to call them, on the Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Earlier in the show, I mentioned that I was actually social last weekend. I was, and people, even then, people don't believe me. You know, however, people come into work on Monday and they're like, oh, how was your weekend? What'd you do? Generally, my answer is the same. We hung out at home with the dogs. That's really about it. That's kind of, we watched TV, had a couple naps. As I'm getting older, I find like I'm napping more Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. But I did. I went out at about 8 o'clock, which again seems very daring, doesn't it? Like it kind of, actually, I got another story before we get into that whole workplace thing. I was out 2 weekends in 1 month. And again, you're like, what the hell? I go out more than 2 nights a week. For me, it was a big deal. And here's what happened. One of my friends, I gotta even check to see if I've told this story on the show. I don't know that I have. You know, when you have kids, I don't have kids, but one of my friends, he got married. You know what happens next, right? She gets knocked up. And we don't get to see each other very often. They've got a 3-year-old son now. And he doesn't get, the grown-up time like he used to before they shacked up and started a family. And so the wife works, she's a nurse, she works overnights. And so he said to me that Saturday, or sorry, it was a Sunday. He said to me that Sunday, hey, she's gone to work, whatever. I've got the place. The kid's going to go to bed pretty soon. Do you want, we can order pizza? They've got a foosball table. See, I went there on New Year's Eve. And we had basically kind of like a foosball tournament. Me, my friend, and then the 3-year-old who really did kick both of our asses. But we had the foosball tournament on New Year's, and there was just so much fun that he's like, hey, we'll order pizza and we'll play the tabletop game again. And I said, okay, fine. That's right. He actually did ask me on the Saturday. I said no because I was like, oh, it's like 9 o'clock on Saturday. I'm not going out right now. And then I made some time for it on the Sunday. So I went there. It was about 8 o'clock at night again. And he all of a sudden just starts pulling out all these bottles of booze from the cupboard. And I was like, oh, okay. Not that I'm like gonna, get bleep faced or anything like that. I'm responsible. But I said, I gotta get up because I do this radio thing in the morning at like 6 o'clock. So I do need to be somewhat coherent to talk about it. So I gotta make fun of celebrities tomorrow morning. Come on, cut me some slack. And he said, no, that's fine. Go home at like 11:30, whatever. Well, here, that didn't happen, right? Once you're kind of getting caught up with somebody you haven't seen in a while and you're having a fun game. And again, we're drinking, but it's not like we're pounding back drinks to get drunk. Those rounds on foosball, it's very quick, right? One goal, you could basically have a goal every 20 seconds even. And so it just becomes a habit that after somebody scores, you then have a sip of your drink, right? Because it's just sort of that reset in your, And we didn't have very big glasses either, so we were kind of refilling quite a bit. And before you know it, we look at the time, and it's, oh shit, it's 3 in the morning. Oh crap, it's 3:30. I got home at 4 o'clock in the morning, technically Monday, and again, had to be up at 6 to do these entertainment things. Now, the great thing about my job is I do that from home, really. So if you hear me on any of those morning shows that broadcast our top 40 and country music shows, and I'm talking to the morning show hosts, I'm at home, in case you're wondering. I'm on the phone, but I'm talking to them from home. And when I woke up, though, it's not that I was hungover. I think I was actually still a little bit drunk. And I thought, holy jeez. Now, good thing is that I'm the boss of my company, so if I want to come in, drunk and whatever, that's fine. Obviously, I don't want to, set a bad example for my employees, but I think actually they kind of even do it too. But that's just the kind of workplace we have, everybody. That's why people want to work for us. Anyway, so yeah, it was one of those weird Mondays where I was like, oh my God, I'm at work and I am still drunk. This is very weird. Not hungover, still like wow, I'm breathing. I've got whiskey breath kind of a thing. So anyway, back to the original story now, 4.5 minutes into that spiel. So again, when I was out the following weekend or the 2 weekends after that, and I got together, reconnected with some friends, and we were talking about workplaces, I don't have the same stories. I can't complain about my dick of a boss because I am the dick boss, right? So I can't relate anymore. And I did work for other companies and things in the past, so it's not like I can't relate, but workplaces have changed. The dynamic has shifted in recent years. And so I'm hearing these stories about people complaining about the boss. Everybody seems to have like work email coming to their phone, but then complaining about it. And so then I ask people, I'm like, well, are you like a manager, executive? Like, do you have to have it? And it's so funny because people will say no, but then they'll justify why they do it. Well, I can just keep up on the weekend, so I'm not bombarded on Monday, blah, blah, blah. But that's still a choice that you're making. So it's actually really not being sanctioned. You're not being told. It's not part of your job. You're just choosing to do it. And so I found that kind of funny. And I don't know, I think it's just a level of importance kind of a thing. I think you're just wanting to look like a big deal. That you can kind of flip over your phone when you're out for drinks and go, oh, it's just, it's another work email. But again, nobody's told you that. I have 2 phones. And when I did go out, I was like, I'm not even going to have the phone near me. This is my chance to get away from that. But again, like I said, I've owned a company for how many years, and I don't need to be glued to it. But again, I almost kind of think like in the profession that you are, maybe if you're a doctor, sure, I get that. Or, the fire chief, and all of a sudden there's a, big fire that you need to be on it. Okay, I get that. Cool. But when you're just, I don't know, in a customer service role for like a retail store or something like that, and you have the work mail forwarded to you or whatever it is, it's kind of like, you know what? You're not being paid for it, so why waste your time? Like, really, honestly. That's just my thought. So that was one thing. Another topic that people were talking about, obviously, like I said, was the dick boss, but it's complaining about other departments, which I found really interesting. Now, we don't have a ton of departments. We've got a staff of 7, so it's not like we've got this massive, go to accounting, or go see so-and-so in marketing. It doesn't work, we're not. But for bigger companies, it almost kind of feels like a lot of departments either feel like they're misunderstood or they're, And so somebody else had said, they use the term customers. So if they're in... let's say marketing, like I just said. Marketing has to design something for the sales team, which marketing and sales is often the same thing. But salespeople then, right? If you've got whatever, you might need some collateral for a sales campaign. And so you task the marketing company with designing something, right? And somebody had said, well, yeah, my boss was talking about, we didn't provide the best customer experience, whatever. And I said, but you're in marketing though, so who's your customer? And they said, the sales team. And I thought, well, that's really interesting, because when you work for companies, usually you hear that it's like, we're one team, we're a family or whatever. Well, I don't look at my family or a team as a customer. I think that's a really weird mentality. I understand the name behind it, right? Like it sort of puts that, okay, well, we're creating this for you and technically you're the customer. That makes it seem like I'm working for you. And if we're the same company and we're working together, I don't agree with that. Suddenly that puts you on a higher level than me because you're the customer, right? The customer's always right. Well, no, but if the marketing team is the experts in it, wouldn't they be right when it comes to things like that? So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Considering another department or your colleagues who you're working with, I think that you're working with them, not for them, calling them a customer. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. All right, so we've talked about the mob mentality, that's society in general. We've talked about work and coworkers. We're going to talk about friends right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Oh, we're talking about friends. I guess did I jump the gun? I just told the story about hanging out with my friend a little bit earlier. That was an unplanned story that I was telling. Okay, well, it still took up a bit of time. For an unplanned story, you guys shouldn't let me do that. All right. One of the things that we talked about when I was out with my friends, not the night that I came in at, or the morning that I came in at 4 o'clock, this was the evening when I went for drinks, to a lounge. It was just kind of nice. And again, for me, you're probably sitting there going, it's Saturday night. Of course you went out. What's so unique about that? It is for my life, okay? But I was hearing about how people list themselves online. Now, we're not talking personal ads. We're not talking about, looking for relationships and wanting love. there's people using dating apps just to find friends. Now, I just kind of figured that if you're on a dating site, then it's implied that you're single or cheating, as we've even seen as well. But I didn't think that people would go on there and just want to find friends with people, right? I figured that those people are very serious. They're like, you know what, don't waste my time. I want a relationship, and that's how I feel relationships are going these days. And am I criticizing? In a way, I kind of am, actually. I think people are so quick to rush and like jump into a relationship and just for the sake of having that title or companionship. Now, again, I don't have personal ads. I did hear that I was on Grindr one time, but I'm not even from that city, and I'm, married and have a hot Brazilian husband, so it's not exactly, I got everything I need. Don't you worry. But anyway, so and if you do it online, if you do have a personal ad or whatever to meet people, that's fine. I think that it's a great opportunity that you can expand your horizons. Back in the day, I think it was kind of like it was expected or implied that because you lived in a certain city or area, you were limited to who you could potentially be with, right? It was very difficult to meet people from other places unless you went there or you had a pen pal, I guess, or something. And so it's great that people have so many avenues to find a romantic connection. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about friendships, though. And so people list themselves on these dating websites. But then I started to hear a little bit more is that people list themselves on sites like Craigslist and Kijiji apparently is a big one in Canada, where you just kind of list that you want to just hang out with people. Hey, I'm just looking for new friends. And at first I was like, that's like really weird. I mean, it's so easy to go and like meet people and make friendships that could just be. And again, I'm the type of person where I'll talk with whoever. Years and years ago, I met a woman at a bus stop, and this is I think when I was in college, and she was probably maybe like 50 something. She lived, obviously she lived close by. She was getting on the same bus as me in the morning. And it even just kind of started with simple things like morning. And then if it was cold or, whatever, we just happened to make chit chat about that. And we have just a few words with each other. It's not even like we, at the time we didn't know each other's names or anything. And then it just sort of developed over time that, we start to talk and then we email and then whatever it is. And so there you go. You become a friend. And I think that's cool because it just sort of is natural. It just happened. I've always found that if you're looking for a friendship, if you're looking for a relationship, it just puts so much pressure and there's an expectation there. I didn't go to the bus stop thinking, I'm going to make a friend today. No, it just so happens, right? And years later, we're actually still in touch and it's really nice. But listing yourself online, looking for friends, I don't know. Do you feel that that's a little bit awkward? Like, I understand a date or your relationship, you're putting it out there because it's a specific interest. But I just feel that if you're a social person, which I think you're trying to be if you're posting yourself on a platform like that, you're attempting to be social. So it's not like you're too fearful to go up to people and have a conversation. You're willing to meet a stranger off of the internet. So, that's pretty brave right there. But I don't know. I just find that weird. I did meet a woman years ago when I was in Cuba, when I had gone on a Cuban vacation 10, 11, 12 years ago or so. And she told me that she listed herself online. Now, again, was this before social media? Oh, no, I think social media was just sort of becoming a thing. But anyway, she listed herself as wanting a travel buddy, like a travel companion. And she was wanting like other women. So I get that because, if you're by yourself, you're traveling by yourself, it's maybe intimidating if you're not familiar with the area or the language, or again, you're a woman and you don't feel safe traveling alone. I get that. Cool. So I didn't find that to be too awkward, but it just seemed to me sort of sad. Like, hey, I'm 25. I'm just looking for a friend to hang out and whatever. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. Would you list yourself online looking for friends? Or do you just have an easy time kind of striking up conversations with people? Send me an email. live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com. Now, speaking of friends and the gym, we're going to tie this one in together. We have another break? No. We have another break. All right, I'll tell you that story when we come back.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here on the Scribble. We're just talking about Cuba, and then we have a commercial for our Mexico coverage. There you have it. Talking about friends in the last segment, and then I kind of segued into the gym, and then a story about Jim and a friend. GYM, not GIM like a person, okay? Admittedly, I don't go to the gym. I have a treadmill in my house. I walk my dogs all the time. That's the extent of my exercise, and I still do have the body of a 12-year-old girl, and I'm 36 years old. Nevertheless, I guess the gym would be a great place to strike up a conversation and make a new friend. And so there was a story about that. One of my friends had said they were at the gym and, just started chatting with somebody, kind of like what I did at the bus stop, those many years ago, and struck up the conversation and then saw the person again, like the next day or sometime that week, because you have the regulars at the gym, right? Oh, I've seen this person. We've talked a couple times. If there's like the sports on TV or whatever it is, you're commenting about that or whatever it is. And for the most part, you don't really get the person's name. Sometimes you might introduce yourself. Hey, right? Hey, I'm Gary. Oh, hey, I'm Tim. Hey, I'm whatever. Here's the interesting thing. So one of my friends was there striking up conversation with this guy, and it's two guys, striking a conversation with the guy, and maybe this is a guy thing now that I actually speak it out and I'm telling you the story. They have the conversation, whatever. Hey, you know what? Let's go for a beer, to the pub. Of course, you do that after the gym, right? Because that's the healthiest thing to have. And so then they go to the lounge, they go to a pub or whatever it is, and they're having a drink. And they're talking about their families, their relationships, whatever it is. No, and again, there's nothing sexual about this. It's not a relationship at all. But they spend probably about they spent the evening out out together in the bar, and then go their separate ways. And then they meet up again at the gym, and working out, whatever. And then they go and they swap WhatsApp, information. They add each other to their phones. All the while, they don't know each other's names. Is that bizarre to you? So they've basically struck up a friendship. And it's not, this is totally different than like a hookup where you don't even get the name, you just do the deed and then you go. This is like you've spent 2 hours together, 3, you're now on phones. How did you add them into your phone then? But WhatsApp, I guess you don't need to have a name attached to it. You can just enter a phone number, right? For the most part, if you're going to add somebody into your phone, you type their name first and then there you go. So is that awkward that you've basically spent all this time making a new friendship, essentially, and you don't even know the person's name? Don't know. It just seemed odd to me. It's weird. So what do you think? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Now, just again, on the subject of the gym, apparently there's a whole bunch of gym etiquette that people don't follow, or maybe just don't know, or whatever. First off, it's wiping off the machine when you're done with it. And apparently gyms actually have signs telling you to do that in some cases. But for me, like when I'm on my treadmill at home, I guess I do wipe it down. No, I don't wipe it down. Because here's why. I don't even touch the thing. I press the buttons before I start running, so I'm not sweating, I'm not hot, I'm not wet at that point. And then at the end, I do like a 45-minute program, so I don't have to adjust or press any buttons or whatever. I'm not using the handles because I'm not an old man trying to keep up. I'm doing a good power walk or a run, so I don't touch the handles, I don't touch the screen, the display, I don't do any of that. So I don't wipe it down because why would I? But in a gym, I guess it's sweaty and whatever, and the etiquette is that you wipe off your equipment. So my question to you then is that if you're using the treadmill at the public gym, but you're not actually touching the handles or anything, do you still go and wipe it down? Do you do it to save face because people are looking, I guess, is maybe the bigger deal, right? I think maybe I would then, now that I actually sort of speak it out. Maybe I would go just to make it look like... Maybe I would go and grab like a rag or whatever and then make it look like I was wiping it. But I wouldn't actually be making contact with the paper towel and the whatever. I would just... That's me wasting paper, everybody. But yeah, anyway, what about that? And then apparently another one would be grunting at the gym and doing that. Is that just sort of is it a masculine, is it a guy thing? Is it a guy thing to do that? You want to draw attention to yourself, to go, ugh, to show that you're lifting a lot or that you're really working hard? I don't know. And then another one, sorry, I had another one here. Hogging the bench. In the locker room then, hogging the bench. You've got your bag on the bench, you've got your water bottle, you've got your phone, you've got whatever, and then somebody else comes in. isn't it just common courtesy to move your things out of the way so somebody can sit down? And again, I wrote a newspaper column about that a few years ago. I think it was called "When Did Your Bag Become More Important Than Me?" And that's like when you're in an airport lounge or whatever, and you see the person's got their carry-on bag or their suitcase or their purse or whatever on the seat beside them. It's like, are you paying for that seat too? Can I have that? Great, thanks. So, yeah, just not being considerate about the bench space. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. We're out of time. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. My email address, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat